Hello and welcome back to another episode of WTF AuDHD with Ellie and Paige. We're late diagnosed sisters. We were diagnosed late.
And we're here to educate. Woo,
Very
we got
nice.
it right.
We got it right. Bloody beauty, mate. This week we're going to be chatting about justice sensitivity because that's a big thing that's experienced by people who are neurodivergent quite often, and it can be quite debilitating and can be quite consuming. So we just want to talk about our experiences with it, a little bit of like research, but probably mainly from our perspective again, and you can hopefully feel a little bit better about, wanting to like change the world and not being able to, and like just, like
almost ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible, but like seriously?
Yeah, being smart is actually a curse.
No, literally like socially intelligent.
Yeah, it's like really hard to
Oh my
be
God,
honest.
do we sound arrogant as fuck?
No, but I think this is actually true. Like sometimes I do wish that I was just ignorant to patterns. Because I think
Yes.
autism, like we notice patterns
Yeah.
and like behaviors, and I wish I didn't notice that. Because then when things don't work out what I predict, or then they do, either way, it annoys me because I knew it was either coming or it doesn't happen. Then I'm confused as to why my pattern recognition didn't work that time. Anyway,
But it never
jeepers.
really doesn't work.
Yeah, look, I'm usually pretty right.
Ellie calls a lot of things like months in advance, and I'm like, I do pick up patterns, but I'm more of a benefit of the doubt, like she'll be right, mate. And then the next fucking 2 months go by, and I'm like, you're right. It's so frustrating.
I know.
Because now when you like predict something, I'm like, you're cursing it because like you're probably right.
I know, and you don't want us to be right.
I'm like, no.
No, it's a real curse. Anyway, so we're going to chat about that today. What is it? Why do autistic and ADHD people experience it? Is there a way we can help it? All that. But I just wanted to, what?
Oh, no, I was like, is there a way to help it?
Yeah, look, don't know. Spoiler alert. Nope. Nah, there is. You can reframe how you see it in your brain.
Yeah,
but
true.
we'll talk about that near the end. But we just wanted to start this episode by shouting out those who have joined our Reddit community so far.
Woo! Thanks,
Yay.
guys.
It's been so nice to see a whole bunch of people joining and chatting to each other.
Yeah.
Now, I just wanted to shout out like a few of the first people. Eleanor has joined. We've got Josh from Ireland and he's AuDHD. We've got mid-30s female from Australia who was just diagnosed with ADHD a few months back. There's a Tom from Scotland. Hello, Tom. Scotland. We love Scotland. We're actually quarter Scottish.
I thought you were going to say half.
Yeah, I was going to say half. That was a lie. We're quarter, I think.
Well,
yeah,
okay.
We've got someone from Christchurch who's an elder millennial woman who was diagnosed with both last year.
Wow.
We've got Daniel from Australia. There's a whole bunch of people who have joined this group, and we just want to say thank you because this is the start of a really cool community of people who we can understand and we can all chat and relate to each other. I don't know if you saw this one page, but the first brave person to comment on the introduction post was I believe it was Josh, and he said, my favorite stim, I have many vocal stims, but my favorite would probably be 36, but last year. Yeah,
I love it.
that's obviously from Harry Potter if you haven't seen that. And Paige and I, that's one of our massive stims. If anyone ever says 36 in any context, we just have to like.
Or if someone says 12
years. That's Sirius Black.
Sirius Black.
So that was, I just immediately when I saw that, I was like,
go toe, isn't he? Sorry.
When I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, we've actually found our people.
We found our fucking people.
We've found our people.
Yeah.
So if you want to come and join, it's in our link tree. It's WTF AuDHD podcast on Reddit. It's not searchable because it's private, so you do have to go directly from the link in our link tree. Now,
you're going to have to go to our profile.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, what?
I don't know. One thing I didn't realize about Reddit, when it's a private community, which we've set up, when we accept you in, you still have to click join at the top. So it's actually a double-pronged step, which is really annoying, especially people with ADHD. So sorry about that.
It's a bit more of a process than we thought.
Yeah. So when you have been accepted, you still have to click join to actually become an official member. So just bear that in mind. But thank you for joining so far. We're going to be debriefing on episodes in there and just chatting, and it's a support space. So if you ever have any anything you want to talk about your personal life even, where you're not sure how to handle it, maybe get some advice from the group and see how they would handle it, and Paige and I will chime in as well.
But again, we're not medical professionals. It's just a nice support group for us to relate.
Exactly. Because personal experiences are very valid too, lived experiences. Yeah. We also had a question from someone who we haven't had many answers on this, so I thought I'd just chuck it out to the podcast in case people have any ideas. But one person said, online clothing with no fuss returns. I hate clothes shopping so much and always have. Oh my gosh, this is my sister or maybe brother. I don't know. I'm sure I don't need to explain why. What websites can I clothes shop on that have easy returns. So they basically want to order a bunch, try them on at home, and then send them back. I don't have an answer for that because I also hate shopping and I'm really bad at it.
Yeah, no, I if I order something and they do not fit me, it does not matter how expensive it was. It sounds so terrible. It's like, that is some privilege right there. But I am not bagging it up and going to the post office to return it.
No.
Holy shit.
And I won't even go into a store to even start the process of buying clothes because it's so overwhelming. The whole night, it's a nightmare. And the sensory nightmare of getting in and out of clothing. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, hot and bothered. And the freaking fluorescent lights. Seriously, fitting rooms need to sort this shit out. If they wanted us to buy the clothes, they should put really good mood lighting in there where we look hot because...
Yeah, I sometimes put it on like a sack.
I know. It's like all down lighting and see everything.
Like your wrinkles and oh my God.
So
anyway, so if you got any answers to that question, because I think that could actually help a lot of people listening, is like, are there any systems like that? And if there's not, maybe someone in this group should start it. We should start up a process where you can buy clothes and then return them. Might be a bit dodgy because I guess people would return them dirty, but I guess maybe it's like a bond process where you give them a bond and so then you give back when the clothes come back clean and in their original state, you get your bond back.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like that.
Yeah. Or like...
We're just brainstorming out loud here.
Okay, let's move on.
So anyway, thank you for joining our Reddit. And we would love for more people to come and hang because it's a little place to just get some refuge from the rest of the big wide world. All right, on to justice sensitivity. So, all right, how do we explain this? Basically, justice sensitivity refers to an individual's heightened awareness and sensitivity to perceiving and responding to injustice. So it's even if it's, again, perceived. It's like the RSD thing where we respond to perceived rejection as well as actual rejection. It's the same with this. We respond emotionally and intensely to injustices, and it could even be a perceived injustice. Now, I will just say again, justice sensitivity is not a trait of ADHD or autism. It's not in the diagnostic criteria like RSD. It's not there. It's not part of it. But there seems to be a really high percentage of neurodivergent people who experience this trait. And there's a lot of theories on why. And it can be down to self-oriented. So like, that's unfair to me. Something's not fair to something happening to you. It can be other-oriented. So it could be like, that's not fair on them. Like, that's not okay. Even to the point where if it's not fair on the other person, but we're getting an advantage, we'll still make it fair.
Oh, yeah, I do that.
Yeah, like even if I'm going to even if I'm going to gain an advantage, I don't like that. Because,
no, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's not authentic and it's not truthful and it's not based in integrity.
Yeah.
So we will like always make sure it's fair. And then observer oriented is like looking at a group and saying, well, this situation's not good for anyone. Like maybe like a workplace dynamic where you're like, well, none of this is working for anyone. Even the bosses are not having a good time in this scenario, or employees. So that's sort of like from afar and seeing like systems and processes not working for people. So this also can overlap a lot. The justice sensitivity overlaps a lot with the RSD, the rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and it also comes into the whole trauma side of things too. Like I think after a life of feeling rejected and feeling misunderstood a lot, I think ADHD people in particular are often misunderstood based on their personalities. They mean one thing, but then it comes across as another. Same with autism. I think that trauma of being misunderstood can also contribute to a developing sensitivity to injustice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the trauma makes it worse. So why does injustice feel so intense for people, first of all, who are just autistic? We'll just start with that one. So like I said before, autistic brains look for patterns and consistency and rules. We like to have rules in place so we know what to expect. We want to know what's expected of others so we can deliver whatever we're expected to deliver. Yeah. So when there is a rule being broken or something doesn't make sense or someone or a pattern is broken, we can get really, really angry about it. But also for me, I almost freeze initially when there's an injustice. I don't know how to handle it at first. And so when our brain seeks such consistency and then an injustice happens, it can be really, really frustrating for us because it doesn't add up in our brain.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't make sense.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
I usually freeze as well if it's something to do with me, something to do with someone else. I'm a lot quicker to be like, that's not right. So much quicker and easier to stand up for someone else. If it's me, the opposite.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm the exact same. Yeah, we like it to be predictable, and then when it doesn't follow those rules, we get really confused. But yeah, I'm the exact same. When it comes to me, I freeze, but I'm really quick to stand up for others and point out injustices when it's someone else, but I can't on my own.
Yeah.
Because then I start questioning my own sanity and, oh, maybe it was me and blah, blah, blah. But when I can just see it for what it is, I'm like, nah, that's not right.
No. Yeah.
And often this is why people in workplaces who are neurodivergent they're seen as difficult. And I think this is
quotation marks difficult. We're not. We're just seeking clarity and the why. We just need the why. I think that's pretty normal.
Yes, we really need the why. We want to know what's expected of us, the timeline, the deadline. Like we just want to know why we need to do it, why we need to do it by that time.
Yeah.
Why? The need to know why is not just curiosity. It's actually regulation. For autistic people, our emotional regulation comes from consistency, knowing what's coming, patterns. Well, and then we don't know why.
Yeah.
We're really unregulated and we don't understand.
Well, if someone's expecting something from us, the least they can do is expect that we want to know the terms and conditions of what we're agreeing to.
Yeah, 100%.
Is it not like normal?
That's what I think. I think it should be normal. But yeah, it's actually a neurological thing for autism brains in a way. It's not just like emotional. It's like I can't rest until I understand this. So you might find that you ruminate on things for a long time. This is one of mine and Paige's biggest tortures is if there's an injustice going on, we will ruminate on that until it's resolved. That could be weeks.
Yeah.
It consumes me.
Yeah, I will replay things in my head so many times.
Yeah.
And just, it's torturous.
It is. It really is. We've been sucked into things before where it's consumed us for weeks and our whole life is dictated by this thing that is not making sense or this injustice has happened to us. And it can be really, really hard to deal with, especially when I'm really verbal. So I like to verbalize all of my thoughts and then I process them on the outside with someone and then I put them back in my brain.
This is why I'm so glad we have each other because I'm the same and we literally will go over the same thing about 50 times. Yeah. And I think some people will get annoyed at it.
Definitely.
I'm so glad that we're lucky.
Same. Like even my partner, sometimes I feel for him because I'll talk about the same thing 10 times.
Yeah.
And by the 10th time I can see him sort of going, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, no, he's done. He's over it. And like, fair enough.
I'm going next door to be sisters.
Yeah. So like, we're very lucky we have each other. I think also journaling can help with this though. If you just are feeling something, just write it all down.
I can't write fast enough for my brain. And so my hand gets on. I'm like, nah.
Yeah. Or you could type.
Yeah. Okay. That's better.
Or another thing you could do is just start a voice memo and just rant into it.
Yeah.
And then you can listen back to it and go, does that make sense? Oh yeah, it does make sense. Or no,
yeah,
that was
a good idea.
Yeah. That's another way to do it. We also, autistic people have a really strong moral compass. Like right and wrong is, the world isn't black and white.
No.
And often there's a lot of nuance to things in grey areas.
But when it comes to people and the way they're treated.
Yeah, I feel like there is always a right and a wrong kind of, and a black and a white.
Yes.
And because of the black and white thinking that autistic people often have, this is another reason justice and injustice affects us so badly.
Yeah.
Because I can just see something and go, well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, why is it happening like that?
Especially when it comes to like professional places, like I guess like workplaces or like sports things. It's like, no, there should be a process to this.
Yeah.
Why is there not a process? And why does that's not fair? So like, why is that not, I don't know. I just get so wound up.
No, same. And so this can be in the context of at home when you're flatting. It could be in a workplace, like you say. It can even be the state of the world. This is one for me that really affects me a lot. And I think a lot of neurodivergent people are struggling at the moment in this world because there's a lot of injustices happening all over the world and we're seeing it happen in real time on our TikTok algorithms all over the internet. It is so hard to sit back and watch. And then also I get really frustrated at other people who never mention things like feminism or, things happening in Gaza, stuff like that. And I'm sitting there going, how are people not talking about this? Like, how are we not doing something about this? And it's torture.
Do you know what I will add to that is that for me, I have now disengaged because, and this sounds terrible, it might sound bad, but I have disengaged because for so long I was so consumed by things like issues in the world that it was all over my TikTok and it was literally screwing me up day to day. Yeah. My mood was effed, like everything was effed. And I tried things like, advocating and stuff and donating and I got to a point where it was really affecting my anxiety and mental health. Yeah. So I got off TikTok. Yeah. To protect my own peace. So I don't know, I guess there's two sides to that coin at the same time. Like I got frustrated when people wouldn't be doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
Um,
Or that even you might get people rebutting you. If you
Yeah.
did post something about
Yeah.
something, you get a rebuttal, and then that would wind you up for the rest of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if it came from a friend, because then your RSD goes off and
Yeah.
goes, oh, no, I'm getting rejected because of this viewpoint I had.
Yeah.
But it's only because I'm trying to stand up for someone that can't stand up for themselves.
Yes, so
blah, blah, blah.
it brought a lot of stress day to day to my life and consumed me a lot. So I ended up having to, but that wasn't out of ignorance.
No.
It was out of the opposite of like, this is so unfair and hurtful that like, what else can I do? It's only affecting me at the end of the day. So I ended up having to get off. And so I don't see a lot of that stuff now, which some people might be like, that's ignorant, but I was.
This is the thing. Like, autistic people and ADHD people particularly, because of the strong sense of justice and actually intelligence too. I think a lot of us are quite intelligent when it comes to nuanced things like feminism and racism and world wars and politics. We have a lot of nuance, and we understand things to a really deep level, and sometimes even talking to others about it, they don't even understand it on the level we're understanding it. And so it's even more frustrating. That irks me too. But yeah, I was actually, as a witness to Paige's experience with this, I was actually all for you getting off, because her mood
Getting off on what? No, sorry. So getting off the
internet.
Yeah.
Her mood was really affected, and like she would just be wound up every time I saw her about just all sorts of things, particularly feminism issues, or even like, you know, AuDHD stuff, and like even the injustice of us late diagnosed feeling so ripped off that we didn't get studied earlier, like especially women and people who are not white males. Why has everyone else been missed? It's an injustice that all the medicine's behind. Anyway, when you are neurodivergent and you understand all these patterns in the world, you realize how much injustice there really is.
Yeah, the fact that there's more research gone into erectile dysfunction than like women's health and endometriosis. That is so effed up. Like, don't get me started.
We can't. This is not about that. But we're just giving examples of like why we're always so wound up and angry, and especially when it affects ourselves, but also others we care about.
Yeah.
And that black and white thing can come into it. So that's kind of the autistic side of it, where we like rules, logic, and clarity. So when something unjust happens, it's not upsetting. It actually disorientates us.
Yeah.
I get really confused, and I need to like understand. And we also have quite a strong black and white sense of thinking. Some of us do.
Well, when it's necessary, like we do, like if someone's being like unalived, we're like, that's wrong. That's a really intense example. But if it's something that's more nuanced, I think we are pretty good at seeing it from all the different perspectives.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, when there's a clear like that's wrong.
Yeah.
Then it's wrong.
Like, why is that happening? Like that is wrong.
Yeah. For me, it always comes back to the simple, like, would I want to be treated like that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
I just, it's as simple as that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But again, maybe that's my black and white thinking, saying that everything is that simple. So then you've got the ADHD side of it. And because of our intense emotional dysregulation, often things affect us worse. So like when we are treated unfairly, we speak before we think, we react with volatility. We get the RSD thing, because RSD and justice sensitivity tie in quite a lot together. So when you've got the RSD happening as well, so for example, if I feel like I get used, or I'm seen of value in one context, and then in another context I'm not, but I believe I should be seen as value in both, I get both justice sensitivity triggered, but also RSD, because I go, what's wrong with me? Is it me? Like, why do they feel that way? For example, in a workplace or something like that, or in a friendship, or anything really. So that's where the ADHD thing is more, almost more like to do with the frontal lobe, and we also, because if an injustice happens, we can be a bit more like volatile in our reactions too.
I think I want. Like I have been, and I think now I freeze because I've got a million thoughts running through my mind. I don't know what the right way to deal with it is. So I freeze. Yeah. Because I'm like, don't react like that. Don't do that. Don't do that. But I want to. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Like for example, something with an ADHD situation at school, for example, because we have trouble with executive function and task planning and stuff like that, we might put all of our effort into an assignment, and then only get an achieved, say. But
Oh.
we tried really hard. Like we did the best we could with the distractions we were dealing with, blah, 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 blah. Then we get a grade and our teacher says, you didn't try hard enough.
Oh yeah, that's shit.
That is so shit, especially as a disabled person in general, because we're coming at it from a different lens. We've got different skills. So that injustice of being told, you're not trying hard enough is like,
It's like based on what
That's the
like
thing.
perception. Also, I thought you were going to talk about group projects, like when you put
Oh.
everything into it and the injustice of the other
Oh my
CUNT getting the same grade and they did
Oh my
F
gosh. I at school hated group projects.
Yeah.
One, because I'd rather just work on my own
Yeah.
because I trust my own
You
brain.
trust yourself and you can't trust people.
Yeah. And I would end up doing, a lot of the time, I would end up doing most of the work and then the others in the group would get the same grade. And I used to find that so fucking annoying and I used to
I
get
don't
so
care.
angry. And also another thing, like people, I would always, no matter what, even if I did it the night before, I would always meet a deadline. I never was late on my homework ever. And bear in mind, I'm dealing with AuDHD, but I didn't know I was. But I never did because I was scared of
Because that was
authority.
wrong. You don't
'Cause it's
not you
wrong.
don't not meet the deadline.
Exactly.
Don't- yeah.
And then you know what would irk me so much is when a whole bunch of kids in the class hadn't finished it and the teacher would extend the deadlines.
It's like you're actually teaching them to not like they need to have the consequence.
Yes. And so then I'm now being essentially punished, in my opinion, for staying up all night to get that deadline. I'm now at school tired as, yes, I shouldn't have waited that long, but like I'm now at school working off 6 hours sleep, got that deadline, and now they all get to just do it over the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nah, that's bullshit.
Whew, okay. Anyway, well, that was years ago, Ellie. Calm down. But you know,
But that's wrong.
It's
you
wrong.
set a deadline, you stick to it. Unless like someone like their loved ones passed away.
yeah, exactly.
Like
yeah.
or something else.
Exactly. So anyway, yeah, the ADHD can get an overwhelming emotional response when it comes to things like that, and our nervous system just shits itself. So we can then melt down. Often ADHD people can like sort of have a volatile reaction initially, then they have shame for the next
Yeah.
3 hours because they know that they reacted not crazy, but they reacted intensely, perceived intense, to a situation, but really it was their nervous system just shitting itself. And the other thing with like ADHD is if you are doing something that you predict is going to have a certain result and then it doesn't, that dopamine neurotransmitter has not then been fulfilled, if that makes sense. So you're anticipating dopamine because something's going to happen the way you think and predict it's going to happen. Then it doesn't happen. And so then that dopamine, you know what? It's like bursting your bubble. It's like you had the dopamine and then it just gets cut off.
I know it very well.
Yeah. Do you have any like examples of that?
Oh, like plenty, but I can't think like of an exact one. Like it happens a lot.
Yeah.
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 It feels like being on cloud 9 and then being dropped without a parachute.
Yeah. Yeah. Like even down to like, I don't know, making plans or expecting that something's going to turn up at your door, like a postage package that you'd paid overnight postage for. It says it's maybe in the delivery truck. Dopamine's there. I want to get this. And then, it's the day's finished and your package didn't arrive. That, you know, that feeling, it's almost like blue balls as a boy. I don't have a penis, but that
Also,
feeling of
blue
like,
balls, I'm pretty sure is a myth. Don't use that example because it's a myth.
well, yeah, like that feeling of you think you're going to get something, and then boom, it's gone. That is a real emotional journey, and it can really affect people with ADHD.
Yeah, for sure.
We're also really sensitive to like hypocrisy. So like,
Oh yeah,
like if we get punished for like, say, especially ADHD people might get punished for like being too loud or something or whatever, and then you might see another person being loud, but because they're not always loud, they get away with it, and then it just feels unfair because you're getting told off for something that they were. This is more in like a classroom situation.
Are you referring to me and you? Because I usually should be the loud one, and then
Nah.
Oh.
Nah, not really.
Oh. Okay, go.
Yeah, like the ADHD thing, especially in the classroom, I think growing up, this is why I think our justice sensitivity is also high, is because you're used to being shunned for being loud or not finishing your work or being disorganized or whatever. But then we're not praised for the things we are good at, because at school, for example, it doesn't always get the stuff that ADHD people are good at doesn't always get praised.
Yeah,
Like creativity and stuff.
Yeah.
And so then we lose faith in like the systems in general and like why, like I really struggled with school when I got older because I just didn't really understand how it was benefiting anyone.
Yeah.
Because not everyone was engaged in these classrooms, and like I didn't like the subject, so why the flip should I have to do the subject?
Yeah.
And seeing other kids doing subjects which they were clearly struggling.
Do you know, in year 12, I got like the highest achiever with when it came to NCEA. And I know that NCEA is a buzzy one because it doesn't matter what subjects you take, it depends on the credits you get. And therefore, like, so someone that did math, science, or, you know, physiology, whatever, is that even one? I don't know. And then me who did like photography, art, PE, and all the things I was good at, they were known as like the bum subjects.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting the highest in year 12, like against like these people that like did really well with like the like,
maths and English
and like, yes, they're very hard, but like that's also subjective. Is that right? Objective, subjective.
Yeah, like
but it's funny how like the subjects I took were known as the bum subjects. And I don't think anyone said like, oh, you only won because, you know, you took the bum subjects. But you also have to be very good at those.
No, definitely.
As well. Like it's not like Sharon that did the freaking maths and science is going to come and like do as well as I did in my subjects.
This is the thing. I did PE, and like I actually would argue that PE is one of the hardest subjects.
It actually was, yeah.
The biomechanics side of it, like, there's actually really hard. So I hate the comparison of subjects.
But yeah, like it made me feel like that win wasn't justified. I felt like that at the time. I was like, oh, but I guess it's the bum subjects, like that people just do because, you know, and doesn't, you know, and and I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah, that sucks. But I fully get that. The justice sensitivity, I think as well, like I've kind of mentioned, is where it's not a trait of AuDHD, but it can be highly correlated with it, because I think, again, we're constantly rejected growing up and criticized, and everything is perceived as unfair. Like even when we were kids, like if mum and dad were giving us both a drink of juice, we would literally, you've seen memes on this probably, but we would literally be standing at the bench looking at the level of the juices, making sure that they were exactly the same height.
That's so
because
funny.
no, you're not getting a drip more than me, bitch. Like,
so why did you always get player one when it came to PlayStation?
Because I'm the oldest.
Fuck you.
Yeah. See, that's an older sibling thing, I reckon. Like we always get player one. Am I right?
Shut up. We're the favorite child, so
Okay. Yeah, the baby of the family. Oh, shut up. All right, so let's now look at AuDHD in this context, because as you can see, there's lots of reasons why justice can affect us, or injustice can affect us, ADHD or autism. What happens when you got both? Well, it's a bloody nightmare, is what it is. I think it's almost not worse, but it's a real confusing combination of both. So let's just take some traits, for example. So why does it happen? In autism, it's because of the need for logic, consistency, and moral reasoning. For ADHD, it's the emotional dysregulation and impulsivity in RSD. And so then for AuDHD, it's the double hit of both. So we've got a moral logic that we stick to, and we have massive emotions when we feel things. And so it can feel like the world ends and like we ruminate on it for weeks. And I just, sometimes I get so wound up about just the world and what I see happening to others, and it can ruin my whole mood.
Yeah.
And I know that there's lots of people out there that don't even think about that. And I'm like, wow, that'd be nice.
That's lovely. How do you do that?
Yeah. Neurological drivers, autism, it can be that black and white thinking, pattern detection. But then for ADHD, it's the low frustration tolerance. Like we don't have a very high tolerance for like being patient or being tolerant. So if something's not working for me straight away, I will give up. That's classic me. And so then I have a low tolerance for injustice. Like as soon as I see it, I'm like, no, not fair. No, it's not happening. And then you get the old double whammy with the AuDHD, which is the cognitive and emotional overload. So our brain's trying to process it, but then our emotions are trying to process it, and blah, blah, blah. Let's have a look. We've got the cognitive style. So autism is detail-focused, rule-bound, systems-oriented. ADHD is interest-based attention and fast pattern shifts. So then with both, you're rigid on your values, but then reactive to changes. So again, it's just so confusing. We know what we want, but then we react crazy about that. And crazy is not the right word, but it just slipped out. The strengths that autistic people might have is we've got a strong moral compass, defenders of justice. ADHD is fierce advocates, protectors of the underdog. I'm always keeping an eye out for trying to see and make sure the underdog is being included, and it's fair to them. And so often we end up being quite big advocates for things. I would suspect a lot of advocates out on protesting, people who are making change in the world, like even just look at Greta Thunberg. Like she's autistic and she has clearly got a strong sense of justice when it comes to climate, and she's an advocate.
And what
changing
about the
stuff.
Greens leader? What's her name?
Yeah, Chloe Strawberry. She's ADHD.
Yeah.
A lot of these leaders are actually neurodivergent, and we're only just kind of figuring it out now. Because we're really strong advocates for fairness and making sure everyone is involved. We're all humans at the end of the day, so why are we all not treated the same?
Yeah. That'll keep me going for weeks.
Yeah, mate. Another example is like when something's not fair, it can be the way that we respond to it. So autistic people might say, that's not logical, that's not fair, that breaks rules. ADHDers might say, that's not fair and I can't stop thinking about it. And then with the AuDHD, you might be feeling like it's wrong and I can't regulate how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So it's like a double whammy of like, I know it's wrong, but now I'm actually spiraling out of control emotionally, just like you were a couple of years ago with your TikTok, and it was affecting your whole entire day, which is lovely. And
or me like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, pretty much every 2 weeks, depending on the old menstrual cycle. So as you can kind of see, like if you've got the combo, it can just be really hard to deal with because you've got two things going on in this justice sensitivity scenario. Some real life examples. Let's go with this. So one thing for me is like being misunderstood in anything, but like work or friendships. Yeah. If I feel misunderstood, like if someone's misinterpreted what I meant, I will be all day wanting to make that right and make sure that they know that I didn't mean that. And then I'll over explain everything to make sure that they get what I mean, blah, blah, blah. And then they don't even get what I mean because then I waffle on and then they lose track of what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
So it's like, it's not that just that someone didn't get what I meant. It's that they made a judgment based on a misread, and I wasn't given benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
So when people misinterpret my character,
or question my integrity, because I think I'm very integral.
Yeah, people don't believe me. Holy moly! I'd never lie. So why are you not believing me? Oh my God!
It happened to us the other day. I was like, I questioned you on something, and you got so around. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I was like, no, don't question me on this. I know.
No, it wasn't that.
I can't remember what it was, but I remember it happening.
I accused you of something, and you're like, no. And I was like, fuck, okay, I believe you, Jesus.
Oh my God! I was using your coffee machine or something.
No, it was. I can't say it on here. It was to do. No, don't worry.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, there's a real life example. So yeah, when things seem to be unfair, I get really, really irked, and it can almost feel like I think all the work we've also put into masking and having people perceive us in a way we want.
It's a threat to that mask.
Yes. And it's like, oh no, now they don't think this or they think that. And you almost feel like everything that you've done in the past has been erased. Yeah. And now you're starting from scratch.
And like they actually hate your guts now just from that one little thing.
Yeah. And that's RSD.
And that's black and white thinking. Yeah. And that's emotional reasoning. Yeah. Of going, I said that, they interpreted it like that, so now they hate me. Yeah. That is not true.
There's also on the ADHD Chatter podcast, it's another great ADHD podcast. I saw a reel the other day of an expert who was on there, and she described justice sensitivity quite well. Yeah. So she was saying like when you're in the supermarket and you might start putting your items up on the conveyor belt early, not because you're pushing in, but just because you're just sort of starting to get.
Oh yeah, I do that.
Yeah. And then someone like in the queue would go, oh, you're pushing in, are you? And immediately when you are not pushing in.
Why would they be pushing in?
Because someone may have just perceived that they are pushing in, let's just say. When you know you're not pushing in, your whole body goes, oh my gosh, no, I obviously wasn't pushing in, blah, blah, blah. And we start to try and justify exactly why we weren't pushing in because now we look like a bad person that we definitely are not. And then, but a neurotypical person might have that interaction and just turn around and go, no, I'm not. And then move on and not think about it for the rest of their life.
Oh no, I would.
That would irk me for the whole day. Yeah, that was a really poor example. So go and listen to the ADHD Chatter podcast because they explain it way better. But it's kind of that everyday life thing where an injustice can happen even in the supermarket, minor, with someone you don't even know and doesn't matter to you.
And then my RSD as well pops off.
Yeah, for the rest of the day, just like so angry. Another thing for me, like, is I mentioned it before, but like being used when I'm perceived to be of value, but then discarded when I'm not. So I sometimes
Yeah,
feel used
that's
for
shit.
my brains in some scenarios, but then other times not. And in like a workplace or something, or in a friendship or whatever. And that's again a justice sensitivity / RSD situation where it feels like it's transactional, and you're like, but I'm trying to help you and showing you loyalty and empathy. And it often shows up in workplaces and creative industries where you've become the reliable one that you're almost like taken for granted.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you don't get seen anymore.
Yeah, yeah. No,
That's just an example for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just a good reminder. Try not to go above and beyond for any workplace, because at the end of the day, they'll just replace you.
Yep. Totally. The state of the world, which we've already kind of talked about, but like, how can people not be angry all the time when we're looking at all of this shit going on?
Yeah.
But again, it just ruins us. And
That's the thing. And I learned the hard way. It was like 2 years of torture. And then I was like, I actually, for my peace, I have to stop this because
Yeah, totally. Yeah, physically I feel heavy when I see things happening in the world and I can't help it. Even just privilege versus poverty, I just get so angry about.
Yes, also, this is a kind of a bit of a tangent, but what's that thing called where you have a very graphic mind? We have very graphic minds.
Yes, I think it's called hyperphantasia.
Okay, so if we like see something or even read an article like so and so has been da 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 da, my brain impulsively, it's almost not even I don't control it. It's not conscious, like it's not like I'm doing it. My brain will, within 2 split seconds, play a whole scene in my head of what that headline was.
Yeah, and if it's like a murder, then you picture this whole murder happening.
I picture it because I have such a pictorial mind. It's not the word, but
yeah.
That, you know?
Yeah.
And it's uncontrollable as well.
Totally. I think that is another thing that people who have, there's aphantasia, which is where you can't picture pictures in your brain, and then hyperphantasia, which is the opposite, where it's really vivid. And I think there's research saying that hyperphantasia is quite highly correlated with those creative type brains, which are often like ADHDers and stuff. And we're picturing these injustices. We're not just hearing them. And it can be really, really traumatizing, even if we're not there.
No, exactly.
Which sounds like, oh, I'm so traumatized thinking about other people's grief. But like, it's true. Like,
we have so much empathy.
Yes.
And we can see it, that it's just like, it destroys us.
Yeah. That's another thing that we haven't even talked about here is our empathy. Quite often, because we feel so deeply, especially ADHDers and stuff, we have high empathy, and our empathy might look different to neurotypicals, but we do have empathy.
Yeah, we do very deeply. And there's this perception that
we don't. Especially autistic people don't. And it's not true.
We do. I mean, I think there's probably some people out there that don't have empathy.
Yeah, I think we just express it differently.
Yeah.
Another reason why I personally think, this is another personal opinion, that there should be more diversity in leadership roles, because women and people of color and queer people have different things they can bring.
Well, we have experiences of like hardships that the white man hasn't experienced. So we see things from a different angle.
Yeah. And then we can make systems better for those people.
Yes.
At the moment, the whole world's just kind of being still service for the white people. So we have a privilege on that for sure. We're very much aware of our privilege.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. And I hate that.
It's not fair. But you know what the problem is with the people that have privilege? Don't realize, well, that are right at the top, because we have privilege, but we are also oppressed in other ways, or have been.
Yeah.
The people right at the top, they don't see that they don't see privilege because they have it.
Exactly. So here's a really good quote I saw one day, and it's actually just exactly what sums us up. You don't notice your privilege because it doesn't necessarily come with things you gain, but rather the lack of injustices you endure. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. When you're living and you've got privilege, everything kind of works for you. Yeah. And it's all good. And yes, you have a hard life. There are things that are hard for you, but the reason we feel the privilege is because we do actually experience injustices.
Yeah. On both sides, like we experience both.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, not funny, but the ironic thing about the people that are right at the top privilege is that when they see things trying to be more equal, they see it as oppression.
Yeah.
But really,
it's not.
You're just Yeah,
you've had it pretty good.
Yeah.
So basically, why is it hard as an AuDHD having this justice sensitivity? You're wired to notice patterns and inconsistencies. You feel more deeply and often absorb the emotions of others. You likely experience unfairness firsthand growing up in schools and in systems or in relationships. You value truth, authenticity, and equality. And when they're not honored, it's very, very painful.
Yeah.
So other real world scenarios can be like in the workplace. Autistic people can get upset when procedures aren't followed or inconsistencies aren't addressed. ADHDers feel emotionally betrayed by unfair feedback, even if it's well-intended.
Yeah.
And AuDHD might both spiral emotionally and need to intellectualize the injustice for closure.
Yes, I think we both have that, and
Yeah.
that's why we ruminate for weeks and weeks and weeks and don't ever feel at peace with it until it's either sorted out or until we've just exhausted the.
Yeah. We just have to.
We just
accept it
eventually
and-
not get over it, but
Yeah, totally. Then there's friendships. So like if with the autistic side, you might struggle to move on from an unfair treatment even after an apology. It's
Yeah.
like I can't forget that.
Yeah.
ADHDers might overreact in the moment and then ruminate in shame. So like I might overreact and then go, I shouldn't have reacted that way.
Mhm.
AuDHDers become consumed by the injustice within maybe a friendship and then revisits that conflict again and again, like in their head.
And in the moment, sometimes it's really hard to say something like we say, so we end up ruminating and then building a lot of resentment, which is then hard to bring it up again.
Yeah,
So
totally.
it's like, in the moment, they're like, well, why didn't you say this at the time? It's like, well,
I just know it's what I felt.
Yeah.
And because of that people-pleasing thing we've talked about a lot and the survival thing, we don't want to shake the boat. So in the moment we go, no, it's all good.
It's a survival thing of just fawning and going, yeah, sorry, even though like, why have we got to say sorry?
Yeah. So then I get
Sorry, my cat's just here. Sorry.
So then I get really wound up. And I think this is another reason why we can feel quite we've said this before, we feel quite two-faced at times as AuDHDers because we can see everything for what it is and we can see both sides of everything.
At all times, I can always see it.
Yeah, I can always intellectualize what sides are fighting what and why they are.
Yeah.
So when it comes to these injustices, at the time I appear okay with it. And then I go home and then I ruminate with you, for example, and then I really start realizing how much of an injustice has happened.
Yeah.
And so then I feel two-faced again because I'm actually really angry about something, but then to these people's faces I appear not.
Yeah.
Because I'm also trying to keep the peace.
Yeah.
And that can be really confusing. And then you end up kind of having to mask again and pretend you're okay with things, especially in workplaces, because honestly, in a workplace, having justice sensitivity is such a hard thing because if you speak up, you often are then seen as the difficult one.
Yeah.
You are then shunned. You're seen as hard work when really, at the end of the day, I see injustices happening in workplaces all the time.
Yeah.
And I have to pick and choose what I say and what I actually stand up for because it can be of a detriment to you and you often can lose your job because of it.
Yeah. And I think a really good leader would see that difficultness is actually you caring for the greater good of the company.
Totally.
But if they're not a good leader, then they just see it as a threat to their own.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, 100%. So if you've ever felt like that in a workplace as a neurodivergent person, that you feel difficult or people kind of get annoyed at your outspokenness, never lose that part of you because they're only trying to keep you within a system that works for them.
Yeah.
If you're actually genuinely trying to fight for something right, obviously pick and choose how much you say and whether you're willing to put your body on the line for whatever it might be. But sometimes those causes are too intense. I can't sit back and not say something.
Well, yeah. And I also saw a reel, I'm not sure who it was, but it was a business leader who talked about, he was in a conference and he said to this big sea of business owners, he said, hire the difficult ones in quotation marks. Who you think is difficult and outspoken are the ones that actually give a shit about where your company's going and they give a shit about your business goals. They're the ones that are going to drive your business to a success. And if you see it as being difficult, then you don't have you're not a great leader and you don't have,
You don't want to be called out for stuff.
Yeah.
You want to just run it the way you want to run it.
Yeah.
Totally. Lastly, like global social issues, autistic people can't understand why people don't care more about systematic injustice. So just
I just don't get it.
inequality and equity and just racism and colonization, blah, blah, blah. ADHDers feel overwhelmed and hyper-focused and then burn out from activism. So like, for example, you were really intense for a while, you're posting things all over your story and then you just got really burnt out.
Yeah, completely. Ruined my peace.
Yeah. AuDHD has become deeply invested as an advocate and then sacrificed their own well-being.
Well, that was me to
Classic.
a T.
Yes, that's it. All right. Well, we've kind of gone on and on about how hard it is. Yeah.
I also just to note, I think it's good to remember that on TikTok, the algorithm is so good that we really need to remember that we're put into echo chambers of the algorithm will pick up that you're interested in the subject and it will literally drill you down and further into all this stuff. So just remember that it might feel like the whole world is surrounded by this, and it's true that those issues do exist, but it might feel a lot more magnified for you because that's all your algorithm's serving you. So just bear that in mind.
Definitely. You've got to be a critical thinker and realize that, mine and Paige's algorithms are probably really different.
Yeah.
And it is actually really dangerous that the echo chambers are getting so entrenched, because then you become so attached to a point that it's even harder to come back the other way.
Yes, and we discovered this. There was a reel I saw that TikTok actually prioritizes which comments on videos are pushed to the top based on your algorithm. So I thought the top comment was the top comment. No, it will push to the top what you agree with.
Yeah.
And so say if it's about like men versus women, that's just an easy one to use. And it's like a video about misogyny. For the men, it'll push the ones up going, supporting their point. And then for women, it will push those ones up. So also bear that in mind.
Yeah, it's so bad. We're actually being programmed by the internet. It's actually kind of freaky. So really keep your critical thinking skills on, because it is manipulating you and then sending us into meltdown, because we do actually probably feel like things can be worse than what they actually are.
Well, they are bad, but it's like, but it's showing you, like, it's saturating you with all this content.
Yeah, exactly. I think in terms of how to deal with this stuff, it's hard because they're emotional reactions and they're deep rooted in our wiring.
It's so hard.
Yeah, but sometimes reframing it. So like instead of saying I hate injustice, say I value fairness and equality.
Nice.
So even just reframing it to a more positive trait.
Good. Yeah.
Because it actually is a really good trait. It is a really good trait. And you're a great ally if you have a strong sense of justice. And,
I think
and
it's a great like progression thing for the world.
Yeah.
Like
I agree. The emotional regulation tools, we've talked about the breathing before, the 4-7-8 method. Cold water splash, just even splashing your face with water can help if you're getting really wound up about something.
Oh yeah, I did that the other day. I had a cold shower. My best friend suggested this. I was really overwhelmed. She was like, have a 5-second spritz after your shower with really cold water. And I tell you, it brought down my anxiety. It like leveled out my nervous system.
Nice. That's great. Well, I always find that when I go for a swim in the ocean. I'm in such a good mood if I have a swim in the ocean. Naming 5 things you can see, hear, and smell. So just coming back to your senses in the moment and trying to just come back to this current moment. And
Big tits. Sorry, I don't know. The impulsivity one.
Classic.
Sorry.
ADHD brains often need movement-based regulation. So like walking, fidgeting, just go out for a walk or whatever. Instead of reacting impulsively, take intentional action. So ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be in response to this? So really try and come back to like, how do I want to handle this? And then channel that anger into advocacy or creative expression. So often I will, if I've got a really heightened emotion about anything, I write poems.
Yeah, and she's freaking good at them.
Oh, thank you. Because I can't, when I struggle to put my words together, sometimes the only way to do it is to put it out into a creative outlet and write the poem. And I often feel a lot better when I write a poem. But that's just me, but little things like that. Sometimes even if you do want to help, like even just a $2 donation to something you care about, that's still $2 that they didn't have before. And I know I often feel like, if I can't help them completely, then I can't help them at all. Like I have this real all or nothing mindset of like, well, what's my $2 going to do? But trying to remember that $2 and that one story that you reshare about a cause that you care about, that's more than nothing. Yeah. And you may even change one person's perspective based on that one story you post. Even if you change one person's perspective, it's worth it.
Yeah. The compounding interest of the global, like all of us doing these little good things every day, it all adds up.
It all adds up. It really does. And just protect your boundaries and your emotional bandwidth. So just remember that you're not obligated to fight every battle. It's okay.
Yeah.
Mute yourself online, like Paige did a few years ago. Just recognize that if it's not good for your mental health. And you know what? Feel free to, in our Reddit group, if you're finding something really unfair, rant about it. Come on and rant about it, and we'll all just stick by you.
There's no judgment. You can be as raw as you want.
Yeah, even if it feels silly, even if it feels minor and it's not worth having a rant. If you feel like it's worth a rant, you have that rant.
I bet we'll be standing right behind you.
Exactly.
And if you feel our hands on your shoulders, be worried. No, wait, what?
What?
I don't know.
That's funny.
That was terrible. We cut that out.
No, that's quite funny. So find spaces online like the one that we've created, and just practice letting go. Things like write a letter to someone, but don't send it. Like I said with the voice memos before, just do a voice memo, let it out, and then try and move on.
Yeah.
Say out loud, I choose not to carry this today. This is not something I'm going to try and. This is not something I'm going to have in my brain today.
This is on that, a really good tip. I saw a video of it. I don't know who it was. Sorry, if I could credit her, I would. But personifying your brain and naming your brain. So when your brain starts to spiral, I go, Susan, not today. Susan, no, Susan, and it actually helps because it like compartmentalizes your brain as a thing as opposed to your whole being.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. I love that strategy. So yeah, those are a few scenarios. We'll start a little thread in the Reddit page about like maybe we just do like a thread of like rant away, like or how do you relate to justice sensitivity? What affects you?
Yeah.
Rant about anything you want to rant about. Are there any social or political issues you want to talk about? Like we obviously don't want to make our platform political, but if you do just want to have a healthy conversation about things, I'm always open to that as long as it's healthy.
As long as it's healthy and like the people
balanced.
In this stuff as well with politics, there's probably differing views. So we don't want any abuse or crazy intense stuff. But yeah, feel free to rant away.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as long as conversations are balanced and we've got empathy and we're showing regard for everyone's sides, then I'm fine with having a hard conversation. And I think more people in this world could do better to have hard conversations instead of not. I think it's ruining the world.
Structured conversations where we respect each other's sides and have intelligent.
Exactly. Amen.
Yes.
Amen. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you've related to it somehow. If you struggle with justice sensitivity, please come and join our Reddit because it really will be a good place for us to all hang out.
Yeah.
And just know that you having a strong sense of justice, yes, it affects us internally and really can kind of screw with our mental health, but it's such a good value to have.
Yeah, it is.
And I think if the world had more people like us, it would really be a better place.
Yeah.
And I think, don't lose that part of you, but just maybe learn how to
not let it affect you as much.
Yeah, exactly right. So join our subreddit, Linktree. Our Linktree has the link and direct link, and then when we accept you, you have to click join. Sorry. Bit of a double stepped there thing with the old joining, but we'll chat to you then, and we'll see you next week for another ep.
Thank you guys. Bye.